Mike with Elite Reef. Today I want to talk with you about some of the easier soft corals. There's a lot of stigma about keeping coral that says it's really hard, and I'd like to talk to you today and show you some of those corals that you can keep that aren't that hard. There's a lot of corals that can be kept relatively easily, just water changes, some fairly minimal maintenance, and this makes it pretty easy for just about anyone to get involved and get a beautiful reef tank going. So let's check out some of those easy corals. So we're going to start off our look at the easy soft corals with one of the easiest ones. But before we get to that, I do want to let you know that we will be closed this Sunday for Easter and April Fools, or a combination of the both if that's what you choose to celebrate. Hope you all have a great Sunday and a good time with your families. So back to the coral. This is a pulsing Zinnia. This is probably one of the easiest corals that you can possibly keep in a reef. Extremely fast grower. It can be a little bit of a pest in some reefs. It can take over a bit in the end, but it is an awesome grower, really interesting coral. It's one of the very only corals that can actually move on its own. So you can see they're pulsing there. That's an action that is mixing the water around them. They need CO2 to photosynthesize, so they're actually mixing the water to bring more CO2 to them and less oxygen. This is a great one to get started with. Good one to see some growth really quickly with and get some satisfaction out of. Another really great soft coral to start with is any of the ones from the polyp families. What you're looking at here is some big green button polyps. And these aren't the prettiest of the polyps. We're going to look at some zoas soon here that have a lot more color variety. These are an extremely easy one, extremely fast grower. Definitely a good one to get started with, show you some growth quickly, show you where your reef is going. These are green star polyps. These are another really easy soft coral, probably about as easy and fast growing as Zinnia. They're in some cases easier to frag, in some cases not. Sometimes you can actually pull them off the rock to remove them from areas and create frags to trade or sell. Zinnia you can cut real easily, but it's pretty hard to get them fully off the rock if you're actually trying to get them out of an area. It's real easy to keep, don't require a lot of light, don't need a lot of flow. Once a week water changes and these guys will just blow up for you. Great color, awesome motion and heavy flow. Just an awesome beginner to coral to start with. These are the Zoanthids that I was telling you about earlier when we were looking at the button polyps. Very easy coral, not quite as fast growing as some of the others we've looked at so far, but as you'll see, the variety of colors is just endless. You can find almost any manner of coloration in these guys, different sizes, come from different depths. Some of them have different skirt shapes. Just endless variety in these ones. Really awesome coral to start a collection of. Here we have another of the polyp family. These are palythoas, really closely related to Zoanthids. They usually get quite a bit bigger. They're pretty much the same care requirements as a zoa. These guys also come in a huge variety of colors, so they're another great collectible. And they're also a little bit faster growing generally than the zoas, so good feedback on these pretty quickly. Another awesome one here is mushroom corals. These also come in a huge variety of colors. Really collectible. There's a pretty big craze going about these with the bounce mushrooms right now, which are definitely on the high end of the mushrooms, but they are still really easy to care for. Another fast grower. Don't need a lot of light, don't need a lot of flow. They actually consume nutrients out of the water, so they can in some cases be considered a part of your filtration. Quick spreader. Some tanks they will take over, cause a little bit of problems. They can pop up different areas around your reef randomly. Definitely a quick one, but another great one to start with. This is my favorite out of the easy corals we're going to be talking about today. These are clove puffs, which as you can see come in some crazy toxic colors. These ones are super bright neon green. Real easy to grow, fairly fast growers, but not usually so much that they take over a reef. They're fairly easy to frag. You can usually pull them off the rock and they'll come off along their runners, creating some nice little frags for you. another good one that's got some color varieties out there. A little bit collectible. Not quite as many as like with the zoas or mushrooms, but definitely some different ones to get a hold of. And the final soft coral that I want to show you today is leather corals. These are another extremely easy one. These are very tolerant of conditions. They'll do really well in conditions from high light, high flow, all the way down to lower light and lower flow. They'll usually grow depending on how much light they get, so if you want faster growth, sometimes higher flow and higher light is a little bit better way to go. Tons of varieties in these guys. There's toadstool leathers, different branching leathers, cabbage leathers, probably the toughest coral on earth. And they are a fast grower, so some pretty good feedback quickly. They don't usually take over because they tend to grow as one massive colony. Extremely easy to trim back. You can trim them down with scissors, a razor, knife, pretty much any kind of sharp implement. And then they can be attached to new rocks or frag plugs with a rubber band, or even sewing them on with thread or fishing line. So those are some of the easier soft corals that you can do. A lot of variety there, a lot of great stuff that you can put in your reef. Combine them and make a nice mixed reef, or you could go species only, do a mix of zoas, a mix of mushrooms. You could do different varieties of leathers. A lot of possibilities there. And before I leave you, I just want to remind you one more time that we will be closed this Sunday for Easter Fools. So we will see you again on Tuesday. Have a great holiday.